we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Yes, I think we are live. I think we're live. Let's start with a song, like always. Oh, it hurts so much to breathe in. So we're gonna sing a song for healing, because I'm just fresh out of the hospital. Tiyata om bekanse maha bekanse ratsa samut kate soham. Tiyata om bekanse maha bekanse ratsa samut kate soham. Teata om bekanse maha bekanse ratsa samut kate soham. Teata om bekanse maha bekanse ratsa samut kate soham. Teata om bekanse maha bekanse ratsa samut kate soham. Teata om bekanse maha bekanse ratsa samut kate soham. Teata om bekanse maha bekanse ratsa samut kate soham. Yeah, it's a prayer. It's a Buddhist prayer for healing. But healing in the ultimate sense, right? That's what all these mantras are pointing at. The freedom, the liberation, the dissolution of all of suffering, of all of the pain, of all of the sickness and disease. Basically praying for the liberation of the illusion of duality, right? But still, I think this Teata Om Bekanse mantra, I was chanting it a lot this year, and especially because of physical healing, a prayer for physical healing. Well, actually, it's related, right? The healing of the mind is the only healing there is, and still, I was praying kind of for physical health. Yeah, I just came out of the hospital, so just to set a little agenda for the stream, I want to reflect on the hospital experience. I would like to reflect on the whole year, just like looking back, what has been happening. Now I arrived back in Germany. I was in Madagascar for 1.5 months, looking at values, looking at vision, what's coming up for all of us in our life, because we're free to choose, to create our life. And that's crazy, this topic of freedom. I was helping to shoot a documentary about freedom in Madagascar as well, so we could touch on freedom a little bit. What does that even mean? Yeah, so excuse my talking. I can't breathe very deeply because I have, what's it called, pleurisy, kind of like some kind of lung infection, which is the stabbing pain whenever I breathe in. Yeah, crazy. Where to start? And of course, as always, just feel free to drop any questions into the chat. Let's hang out. Let's communicate. And hang out together. Oh, this is so good. Like, this is coconut rice milk. If there's any market in your area that sells coconut rice milk, is one of the best I have ever tasted. Oh, some are not so good, but this brand specifically, I think it's called Alos or something. It's so good. Um, I think it's my second favorite milk. My favorite one is it's hazelnut rice milk. Wow. Like, if you get a chance to get your hands on some hazelnut rice milk, I think it's one of the best things that a human being can experience. Cold hazelnut rice milk. Um, like, you don't know what you're missing. If you don't know what that is, then like make it a mission to find some good hazelnut rice milk. It will make your life better. I can promise. It will make your life better than it is right now. Um, yeah, just as coconut rice milk. And it's so good that we're free to just like have the luxury to go out and buy this. You know, it's crazy. You could even choose to make it yourself. Like, that's insane. You just get some ingredients and you make your own milk. Absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. Okay, so just to settle in, you know, it's funny. There is this constant observation of the ups and downs of life. Um, um, we'll tie it back into the topic of freedom, because how free are we to really, like, I don't know, where's our freedom in that? Because there's these inevitable waves of highs and lows. That's just a fact. That's an observation of life. Like, there's times when we feel better, and there's times when we feel worse. There's times when things in the external seem to be working out well for us, and there's times where things in the external world don't seem to be working well for us. And still there seems to be a freedom in our response to each and every situation. But even that response, it seems like it's part of our karma, what some people call karma, what some people call, well, destiny. You know, it's this very interesting question of freedom, of having a free will, because it seems like everything is meant to be. That's been a thought that's been running through my mind recently. That everything is meant to be, because everything that is already, it is, right? It is already real. It is already true. It is already part of reality. It is approved by God. It is accepted, embraced, brought into being by the universe, by existence, by life itself. And by the very fact that something is, it is already like, it is already true. And there seems to be a quality to each moment that is embracing this truth of the moment, which already is kind of like, it's just appearing, right here, right now. There's nobody who's choosing this, at least not in my experience, right? It's this, what is just present, what is just arising in each and every moment. And this moment, it's infinite, but it's like, the only thing I can do is just to be aware of this. And then there seems to be like a little bit of like an illusionary room to choose our responses to situations, which is very interesting. So, for example, it's funny. It's like I I am finding myself, I don't know, I've been in a low and still kind of am in this feeling of feeling really low. I'm feeling really tired, and I'm coming back to Germany. I was in Madagascar, and like I have so much. I'm running into so much issues with technology. Once again, it's one of my favorite topics to be angry about. Like my streaming setup, I think it was completely destroyed. There was like a setting in OBS that I've created and spent hours and hours and hours like choosing and creating and refining, and it's gone. Like it's destroyed. I don't know what happened. Like it's completely destroyed, and I have to start from scratch. Uh, and that makes me very angry. Then I've been sick. I've been not been doing as much as I would have liked to be doing in the past week while I was in the hospital, in the past month, even while I was in Madagascar. And see, these negative interpretations or reactions to what is, they are automatically arising somehow. And there is kind of like, I don't know, there seems to be a pattern of like some pattern of the mind that is just naturally arising, something that is just running out, and then through our practice we become aware, you know, just through practicing awareness and appreciation, concentration, meditation, we become aware. We observe our mind in our practice, and we become aware of these patterns and of these thoughts that are running, which are kind of mostly attachments or aversions, like wanting things to be different than they are, attaching to a wonderful idea of how things should be or would be, and how great we would feel if things would be different. And then when we detach from that identification with our thought patterns that are naturally arising in each and every moment, there is an opportunity to be aware, to take a step back and meet that pattern, that negative interpretation, that automatic reaction to a situation with a little bit more awareness, with a little bit more love, with a little bit more detachment. There lies our freedom, in this awareness, in this consciousness, to then just be aware of that pattern running out. And from this like detachment, there is an automatic freedom that comes from that. A freedom from suffering, first and foremost. Well, what is suffering in the first place? That's a very interesting question. And also like a freedom from our own story. Because mostly we're so identified, we're so in it, you know, we're immersed in the story so much. We get invested in our story and in our character and our identification with and attachment of how things are, of how we are as a person, of how our circumstances in our life are, how our health is, how our technology is, how our career is going, how our relationships are going. All of this we're so identified with, we're so attached to, we're so immersed in it that we're almost like trapped in our own life. And through our practice, through psychedelic experiences, you know, we see, we take a step back and we see that we're so much, you know, more and so much less than our own character. We're everything and we're nothing at the same time. And when we expand this awareness into this like infinity, into this emptiness, also this empty space, we feel the interconnectedness of everything, this like oneness, and also the intelligence, the inherent intelligence of consciousness that is not just working in our life, in our story, through our vessel, you know, through this body, but that is working in everything, in each and every story, in each and every arising of something, of being in existence. And through this recognition of the intelligence of consciousness, of how this lila, how this play is playing out, you know, how all these stories are playing out, I found that there, in this intelligence, you know, there is which is coming back for the freedom, there is a certain sense of perfection. There is a sense of completeness. There is a sense of destiny, of everything being destined to be as it is. And as there's no time in this space, there's not this like, it's hard to describe and put into language. There's not this mind, you know, that is working in categories of past and future, of I have been this and I want to do this, but there's as it's infinite, there's a space for it to it's eternal, you know, it's an eternal, infinite intelligence, this consciousness that is working through everything in existence. And this, it knows everything, you know, it is everything. And in that sense, it is kind of like the guiding force of all of the stories. But it is formless. It has no like personality. It has no individuality in that sense. It kind of has as it becomes embodied in us, you know. But this infinite intelligent consciousness, which is kind of like the essence, the substance of everything that is, that is already like, it already from the beginning, it knew what would happen, and it always will know what will happen, and it always is happening right here, right now, free from the story, free from the form itself, embodied in the form, but free from it, in this formlessness, the formless being kind of like, yeah, surrounding and infusing everything that is, and holding it as well. Hey Mayanji, how things are supposed to be. See, yeah, and then there is a human judgment coming in, you know. Our mind, at least my mind, it comes in with judgments of this infinite intelligence, of this consciousness that is all, that is the essence of everything that is. And the mind comes in and says, but I am in pain. Like, I have been in the hospital, locked in there for 6 days. And I don't like that. Like, I didn't like this experience. Resistance, aversion, attaching to a state of less pain, like wishing for things to be different, judgment of the experience, judging, okay, I do not have enough money in my bank account. Real example right now, I just came back from Madagascar, I spent all my money there, and now I have less money. And through this judgment we create an illusion of choice. Basically, we say, okay, duality is real, this is real, my story is real, and it's important, and I, the ego, the mind, I, this created illusionary sense of I, am in control of my life. And so if I wish for things to be one way and they're not, then I feel bad and I judge that. It's kind of like the illusion of freedom. But the true freedom lies in the recognition of the infinite, in the intelligence of the absolute consciousness. Because that is free. That is freedom itself. Paradox P is asking, are you stuck in a time loop? I don't think so. I don't know. I feel like I'm stuck in time. I'm aware of time. I'm not stuck in a time loop. What is a time loop anyways? Could you expand? Okay, great. Enough. Yeah, that was, maybe it was a little bit of a loop to kind of go into the ranting of what freedom is. It's a very interesting one, it's a very nuanced, deep one. There's one I read recently. It was from Ramana Maharshi. He said, if anything exists already in the divine foreknowledge of an omniscient God, then it cannot be changed by man's free will. If not, then God does not know what is going to happen and is not omniscient. If it is a cinema, the whole story is already on the film. What has not yet been shown on the screen, as well as what has been, even though the audience does not know what is coming. If it is an impromptu television show, the operator also does not know what will come next. Oh, that was not Maharashi. That was author Osborne. Maharashi said, it is true that the work meant to be done by us will be done by us, but it is open to us to be free from the joys or pains, pleasant or unpleasant consequences of the work by not identifying ourselves with the body or that which does the work. If you realize your true nature and know that it is not you that do any work, you will be unaffected by the consequences of whatever work the body may be engaged in, according to destiny or past karma or divine plan, however you may call it. You are always free, and there is no limitation of that freedom. pointing to that true nature, that which is beyond the body, the identification with the body. In that comes the savoring of the joys and the pleasures and the pains of human existence. And the interesting part is that I have come to find that the striving for the disidentification of the body and the reunion with our true nature and this infinite consciousness is also causing a sense of desire. It's a desire to merge with the formless and disidentify with the body. But even that, how free are we to choose that? Our path of liberation. Because in my mind, there has to be the opportunity for liberation at any time, in any moment. There is the possibility for us to completely surrender and let go. Right now. Right now. There is the opportunity and the possibility for liberation. It has to be. But then if we read that text and say what the body is doing, it's already predestined. It is our path of liberation. This work of trying to... I just realized I think I broke my camera. Whatever. Is this path of liberation our path, our choice to choose to unite with God by fully surrendering and letting go and having this like Satori experience? Is our ability to do that in our lifetime, is that predestined, and if so, then, well, what are we left to do? And I have come to the conclusion for myself that what is left to do is to enjoy and appreciate each and every state of being. So to come fully into the humanness and kind of enjoy the patterns of the mind, enjoy the identification with the body, enjoy this path that is filled with duality, with pleasure and pain, with desire and attachment and aversion, to try to enjoy all of this and continue to do your practice, because there's nothing else to do. As Ram Das said, if I get liberated in this lifetime or not, who cares? Because the best thing I can do is just to do my practice, to walk on this path to the best of my ability, and then to enjoy and appreciate each step of the journey to the best of my ability. Because that's what it's about. If it's predestined or not, what else is there to do than just to walk this path? And then being identified with the body and being caught up in the illusion of duality, for the time that is the case, that is the case. Then my practice, at least, is to to embrace the truth of that situation. To say okay, I love this as well. I love this moment. I love this reality. I love this identification. I love this pain. I love this suffering. Because that is truth for me. Then there comes a real detachment. A detachment from the desire of detachment. Because the desire for detachment itself is what is keeping us in the illusion, in the identification, in the suffering. But when we free from that desire of even being free and liberated and detached, there's an even greater ability to enjoy each moment. Mayan is saying golden chain. It is the golden chain. But it's the we won the lottery, you know, with our humanness. I think it doesn't get any better than this. Well, it might. But right now, this is as good as it gets. Well, like if you really are present right now, in your present moment experience of life, and you look around, look in your room, look in your environment, take a deep breath to the best of your ability. I can't. And feel. Feel into your body. And feel into your mind, you know. Look at your mind. What's it doing? How does your body feel? How does your environment look like? And then recognize that this is as good as it gets. You know, don't wish for this moment to be any different than it is. If you feel pain in your chest, like I do with my pleurisy, if you feel sick in your body, if you feel suffering in your mind, because you're judging this and judging that and judging that, recognize that this is as good as it gets, and then enjoy it to the best of your ability. Spirituality is the practice of being happy. And true happiness cannot be like attached to any conditions. True happiness has to be unconditional. It's kind of like it's an unconditional appreciation of the truth of reality, of the truth of this moment. It's a subtle satisfaction with whatever is. All the little sensations in your body, all the pain, all the suffering, all the challenge. And when there's a greater ability that we can cultivate and practice for us to embrace this moment, to appreciate this moment, to love this moment unconditionally, to be satisfied with this moment, just as it is right now, there is a subtle joy, there is a subtle happiness, and there is also a subtle freedom arising. Because there's no resistance anymore. There's no resistance to the crazy monkey mind, the crazy pain, like I have in my throat right now. There's no resistance. There's no wish for things to be different than they are. And that is moving into the freedom. You know, that is the freedom. I'll read you some definition of truth I was writing recently. I was redefining my values. Values is a great exercise. I do it with all my coaching clients. If you're curious about working with me, there's a link in the video description, the first one, and you can book a free one-on-one call, and we can talk about how we can work together. It's one of the most powerful practices that I do with all my clients is defining top values. And I was doing the same for myself. I did it like 7 or 8 years ago. And recently, while I was in Madagascar, I was doing it again. I was kind of reconsidering my whole life, and then I was like, okay, let's do all the value exercises from scratch. And basically, the results were very, very similar, but around my top values. But there were subtle differences in the definitions that I was kind of like trying to create for these values. And my number one value, my God, my throat is so sore. Excuse me. Suffering, pain, bodily sensations, suffering. Okay, but that is the truth of the situation. So my top value is truth. Hey, Kali, welcome back to Jimmy. Thank you. It is very cold here, and but it's nice and fresh air. But it's very gray as well. But that is the truth of the situation. And truth is kind of like, it's my top value. It's my first number one value. I value truth above anything else. It's kind of what I realized in my reflections on like what's truly important for me. And truth is a very big term. And it's a very big term that is also, it includes a lot of different things for me. So I equal truth with a lot of things, with a lot of other words, some that we touched on, like freedom, like love, happiness, God. But the definition that I ultimately kind of like came up with, and truth, it's a bit difficult, but truth is the infinite unfolding of reality and divinity, embodying presence, wholeness, and the essence of what is. It calls for radical honesty, clear perception, and self-transcendence through humility, responsibility, and surrender. Truth is both the journey toward understanding and the realization of God, unity, and goodness. Truth is the ultimate reality as it is, unfiltered by illusion, embodying divine presence, clarity, and authenticity. Analytical apex. Yes, sir. Truth is love. Love is so much more than truth, and truth is so much more than love. They're equal. Truth with a capital T and love with a capital L. I find that they're equal, but in my values, I even differentiate them and say like, okay, truth is, it's kind of like, really, it's this clear perception of everything that is. And truth as a value, it's not something like, I recognize that the truth itself, it's not something I as a human can value. Because truth is true no matter if I value it or not. And so what I value is kind of like an alignment of truth, a pursuit of truth. Because the truth is the infinite unfolding of reality. It's like that is happening each and every moment. The wholeness is already whole. ultimate reality just is as it is. You know, if we try to embody it or not, it's already embodied. We are truth embodied. You are truth embodied. You are the creative being personified. The one, you know. It says, Ik onkar, Satanam, Kart Borak, Nirabo Niraver. It's the Mool mantra of the Sikhs. It says, one universal creator God. The one, you know. Satanam means the name is truth. The name is truth of the one. Gotta end the stream soon, mate. I'm dying. I'm sorry, I haven't talked so much for such a long time and I'm still suffering from so much. And then it says Kartapurak, which means creative being personified. That one, that ultimate reality, that truth. It's created, it's personified as you. As you. And then it says Nirabo Niraver. So it's fearless, you know, there's no fear, there's no hatred. It says it's self-existent. It's beyond birth. It's undying. There's nothing you can do against truth. You know, truth will always win in the end. It has to. There's no other way. And then love, I would say, to add on to this. Love is infinite, unconditional, and transcendent. It's a joyful, detached appreciation of reality as it is. As it is. Embodying a sense of awe, gratitude, and a wholehearted acceptance for the beauty of God. For the beauty of truth. Love is the boundless essence of existence, the creative force that unites all things in divine harmony. It is the infinite expression of connection, joy, and compassion, transcending our individuality and embracing all as one. So I would define my mission in life, you know, as a human being, as loving truth. Just two words. And they have guided me from the beginning of my journey. You know, I think it was unconditional love that resonated first with me. And then the next one was Zen, which I would equal to truth. And that, I feel like, is at least my purpose as an individual, but also as it might apply to humanity as a whole, to each and every one of us. To say that we're here for loving truth. That's our only mission. Like, at least for me, that's the only mission worthwhile pursuing, is to recognize truth, to understand truth, to explore truth, and then love that. Love that, appreciate that, accept that, embrace that, everything. It's such a wonderful vision, because with it there is an implication that the path of loving truth leads me through purification, being, presence, wholeness, freedom, infinity, reality, radical responsibility, and infinite exploration of perspective, divinity, goodness, selflessness, sacrifice, understanding, nothingness. And how do we do this? It's a good question of like, okay, how do we do this? How are we exploring truth and how are we loving it? I think that's what we're doing with this work. Psychedelic actualization. This is what it is. It's our psychedelic work. Psychedelics as a tool, as a catalyst for the exploration and pursuit of truth, and as a practice ground for loving that, for loving truth. That's my main psychedelic practice. When I do take a psychedelic, I open myself up to the truth of reality, to the truth of what is present in my experience, in my perception, in my consciousness. And then I just try to love that. This like detached, joyful, unconditional, infinite love. And we have wonderful other practices like contemplation, self-inquiry, practices like yoga, meditation. We can go into retreats. We can go into nature. Nature is a wonderful teacher of truth and of love. Self-actualization, is a practice of truth. It's for me, it includes characteristics of pursuing and embodying honesty to the best of my ability, authenticity, avoiding self-deception, cultivating that breath awareness, eye contact. There's a rawness of human relationships is a wonderful practice ground for seeing truth and loving that. Studying different perspectives and spiritual traditions. And being curious, just being curious, And then the consequence, the natural consequence of that is that you're going to be humbled, Courage is a prerequisite. I was contemplating of like, okay, do I value courage? Do I value humility? And it's like, it's all included. Do I value responsibility? Do I value honesty? It's all included in the value of truth and of love. Because courage is a natural prerequisite for this work, to pursue truth. And humility is a natural consequence of this work. When we go into psychedelic space, we're just humbled over and over again as we try to perceive truth and then love that. Because we're going to face our inability to embrace truth and love that. We're going to fall into ignorance, illusion, self-deception, judgment, over and 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 over again. It's just what it is, So yeah, that's that. That's my definitions of valuing truth and love. And that like expression of how that is unfolding, that pursuit of loving truth, that's up to, first and foremost, that's up to God, but also that's up to, embracing our individuality, to say like, okay, my body and my vessel, this thing, which I wouldn't even call mine, but this thing here right now, which I do appreciate and try or find myself being embodied in, that is able to play out this pursuit of truth and love in its own way. To take care of the survival game, to try to make money, to try to enjoy relationships, to accumulate all the lessons and learnings along the way. And to make that as much fun as possible. That's why I value humor. It's one of my values. Valuing humor. Humor being not just funny in the outside, but the ability to bring lightness, laughter, and perspective to life. Cultivating connection and resilience through playfulness and a cosmic appreciation for the absurdity of existence. It's our ability to embrace life's weirdness and challenges and suffering with lightheartedness, creativity, perspective, bringing out joy, connection, and resilience through our laughter and our ability to play. So being playful in our pursuit of truth, not being too serious. Because we're serious, and everything is serious, and the pursuit of truth is serious, and the loving of reality is serious. And there's no point in it. If it's serious, then it's not fun. If you're too serious, I feel like you're not on the path. It's like there's something seriously wrong in your understanding of reality. If you're too serious, there's something seriously wrong. If you do enjoy this, by all means, go ahead. But I have yet to meet one person who is serious and who's completely, honestly serious and is enjoying life. Okay, I'll read up on your comments. Thanks for your participation in the chat. Analytical epics, I think you said it a while ago, but I'm going to repeat it. It's the little thing that allows us to divide the concepts. It is our job to divide those things so that others don't have to. We dissect and discuss these things so that we can feel them without separation. We split it to see the parts and then put it back together again. Yeah, that's the play, it's right on. And there is a nuance in our language as well, which I might have to make you aware of, or be aware of myself, but also then communicate constantly. That there is a difference between truth with a capital T, absolute truth, and truth not with a capital T, with a smaller case t, which is relative truth. And the pursuit of absolute truth is what we talked about. And then there is still the balance, the paradox, and the balance between those of seeing the reality of relative truth. To say like, okay, even though I am always already free and this absolute truth is unconditionally whole and free and happy, I might still have relative psychological problems that prevent me from building a beautiful relationship or make money doing what I love. If we're not addressing the relative truth of our psychological problems, which do exist on the relative level, which might not ultimately exist in the absolute level on our truest essence and nature, we're going to run into a lot of problems if we're not addressing those. It's important to keep the perspective balanced and your understanding clear about absolute and relative truth. About seeing the value of the concepts and the language and the separation that we create as humans. That is inevitably part of our human existence. and work in that realm. And not fall into the trap of spiritual bypassing. I was reading about it recently. It's a great book. It's called Toward a Psychology of Awakening from John Wellwood. It's talking about Buddhism and psychotherapy, basically. And about this observation that lots of Western people who explore Eastern philosophies tap into things like spiritual bypassing, using spirituality, using truth, absolute truth, as and psychedelic experiences, fall into this category as well, as an excuse for not dealing with the problems and issues and challenges that people have on a relative level. So yeah, that's that. Kali NB is saying, Verger, do you see value in drugs that aren't psychedelics like DXM, salvia, and alcohol? Analytical Apex is saying they are all psychedelics. Salvia is shamanic, DXM is a deliriant, alcohol is somewhere in between. Have you ever noticed a psychedelic trip start before you take the psychedelic? It's an interesting question what you're asking, and I am working on, well, sometimes I'm pausing the work and sometimes I'm actually working on it, but I am working on a presentation, a very, very, very long and detailed presentation. It's going to be hours upon hours upon hours long. It's going to be the first video of the actual course I'm creating, and I have been creating for the past 4 years. It's about the question, what are psychedelics? And it opened up this whole spiral, which is this spiral and this rabbit hole of going into language as a topic, because what are psychedelics? I can't answer that question right now because I'm working on an hour-long presentation around this. But the psychedelic or the drug itself, drug, the word itself, is also just a label. A label for what, So regarding the question, it's okay to be a little bit unclear on what is a psychedelic and what is not. And depending on your perspective on the word psychedelic, you can define a lot of things as psychedelic and a lot of things as not psychedelic. We could say that everything is psychedelic if we take the word psychedelic as mind manifesting, revealing the mind. Then what, like, reality is psychedelic. Everything is psychedelic. Everything is a manifestation of the mind. So in that sense, everything is psychedelic. Nothing is not psychedelic. But for the for the usefulness of categorization, we say like, okay, we say these things are psychedelics, and then we have further classifications. So what you probably mean by your question is that you're asking if there's value in drugs that are not serotonergic psychedelics. That's a kind of like a classic psychedelics as a category, saying like, okay, it's LSD, mushrooms, DMT, ayahuasca, I think even 5-MeO DMT. All of these are serotonergic psychedelics, tryptamines mostly. There's some phenethylamines as well that we call serotonergic psychedelics, but you get the point, and regarding your question, if I see value in those, yes, absolutely. I mean, it depends also on what you define as value. And that's the whole point, you yourself are the only true authority that can decide for yourself, for your life, for your body, for your state of perception and how these substances interact with your mind and with your body. If you see value, if you generate the perception of value onto these substances, what is value for you? No? And then are these substances fulfilling a certain sense of value? It's your definition. You are the creator of that definition of value. There is no inherent value in DXM, salvia, alcohol, LSD, anything. There's no inherent value in it, but you define if these things are valuable for you. For example, if your aim is to figure out your values, for example, like the exercise I do with my coaching clients, then I would say the serotonergic psychedelics are much more useful for that. For example, especially LSD for me has great value in helping me figure out my values. A salvia experience, I have only had one, to answer your question in duty. And I would really love to have one again, but I have been like pushing that aside for a long time, and also my state of health is not allowing me to go into that experience at the moment. But it's coming up, probably next year. It's coming up. But the one experience I had, I can say, and from trip reports, what I read and hear from other people, that salvia might not be, or DXM might not be the best substance for you to help you figure out your values and get a clear perception around what's truly important for you in your life. Same with God realization. 5-MeO-DMT is a very effective one for God realization, for self-transcendence. And DXM might not be. But you can ascribe value to anything. So you can say, okay, salvia is valuable for me to recognize and explore the absolute madness and insanity of consciousness, of what consciousness is capable of. That salvia is great for that, And alcohol is great for letting loose and exploring, I don't know, social skills or whatever. But then you gotta take into consideration all of the negative health consequences of what it's doing to your body. So see, yeah, you can define the value for yourself, and have to, for each and every substance. And I, for myself, regarding your question, do see value in drugs that are not psychedelics. I see value in tea, I see value in cacao, I see value in cannabis, I see value in salvia. I see value in alcohol, even though I choose not to consume it myself. I do not consume alcohol. The trade is not worth it for me. So the value of alcohol, it's not, like, I don't know, like I see it as not enough value for me to actually engage in it. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Analytical Apex is saying 4 cups of coffee is psychedelic and may help with clairaudience. Yeah, man, coffee is very psychedelic, I would say. It's knocking me off my socks at times. I stopped drinking coffee so much. I very rarely have one. Recently I did a month or 2 or 3 month break, and it felt very good to be not just off of coffee, but off of caffeine completely. No cacao, no tea, no green tea, no black tea, nothing. It felt very good. I can highly recommend to take a break from all of caffeine, um, to see how it feels, to see what it's really doing to your body, to see if the value you ascribe to it is actually worth it. I was discovering that actually coffee was just doing more harm than good. I'm even more focused and awake without it. Yeah, it's an interesting habit to fall into. Ted TT, thanks for being here, my friend. How many lines of weed did you snort this morning, sir? I think it was about 11. Thank you for asking. Ted is saying coffee is bad for your adrenal glands. Yeah, coffee is pretty bad for your general and for your body in general. And there's like, it's so funny, that's why you have to take responsibility and define value for yourself and do research for yourself and feel into your body and trust your body and get into communication with your body, because there's conflicting research at times. There's like people that get paid, and then there's like corporations who have interests in the research that is done, and then these like scientific journals and studies are coming out, and they're contradicting each other. There's studies that are saying coffee is good for you, a little bit of caffeine is healthy and is good for your body and good for your heart. And then there's studies saying coffee is the most horrible thing, caffeine is the most horrible thing you can do to your body, especially coffee. So which one do you trust? Which study do you trust? Are you trusting science? Or are you doing your own science? Are you doing your own research? Are you feeling into your own body to say like, okay, I'm really honest with myself. Is this serving me? Is this feeling good? Is this feeling healthy? Do your own research and then feel that out and trust that. Analytical Apex is saying outside of Flock and Croc, heroin, all of them can be used to build something. Salvia is good for understanding the time loop. DMT is going home. And LSD for understanding man, shrooms for flow. Yeah, that's pretty spot on. I would say, absolutely. Ted is saying, wow, 11 lines. That's a good amount to start the day. Absolutely. Brother. Well, I just woke up from a 4-year stasis, so I need my coffee. That's a story you're telling yourself, that you need coffee. But I can see that point of view. I can resonate with that point of view. I tell myself the same story at times, that I need coffee. I need this, I need that. The cannabis is also, it's an interesting one. It's been calling me for a long time, but I'm afraid to go back. I hear the stories of people using cannabis, and it's like, it's scary stories. It's a tricky one. It pulls you in, and it makes you love it so much that all of a sudden you don't realize that it's not serving you anymore, but it's actually harming your life. And you are not using it anymore, but it is using you. But I'm very curious about the ceremonial use of cannabis and exploring deeper realms of consciousness with it. some people I talked to who went far with the cannabis, say it's one of the most scary and one of the most harsh teachers as well, way harsher than ayahuasca or peyote. Um, and also, yeah, I have been smoking every day for like 3 years when I was younger. And then, yeah, because I loved it so much, you know, I loved it so much. I was smoking every single day a lot of weed. And it's tricky, you know, it becomes part of you, it becomes part of your perception of yourself, it becomes, you identify with it, you make it part of your identity, and it pulls you in. It pulls you in, it comforts you, it puts you into this very comfortable space. You know, and it taught me a lot, it gave me a lot as well. I got great value from it. But I loved it too much, so I had to take a break, you know. And I said I'm gonna take a break for 1 year, and then I'll see if I continue. I'll give myself the freedom to continue again. Ted is saying quitting weed is hard. So what made it easy for me is a complete change in environment. Moving out of the house that I was smoking in. Actually, also the relationships, you know, moving out of relationships that were deeply connected to cannabis, as hard as it is. Integrating new habits like exercise, getting a high from somewhere else, like running. That is saying I was addicted to opiates and alcohol for years, but been clean for 12 years now. America is all addicted. Yeah, addiction is a deep issue. It's a very deep topic as well, of where addiction is coming from. I was looking into it myself, you know. I feel like I have lingering addictions, you know. The addictions to opiates and alcohol, and that's just the surface level, you know. Especially as you say, America, but the whole world, it feels like to me, is addicted. Addiction is running through every single culture, every society, every community. No, I'm not American. I am German. I'm living in Europe. But everywhere there's addiction, you know? And it's addiction especially to, it could be to anything. It could be to caffeine, to coffee. It could be to porn. It could be to money, success, power. It could be to phones. Phones is a big one. It can be to sugar. Sugar is a big one. Big one for so many people, you know? And I have noticed it myself, you know, what is it? I was reflecting on, during an LSD experience recently, that I have been addicted. I have this like, well, I don't know if it's a story I tell myself, but it's this like, I noticed this tendency for addiction. Like when I do something a lot. For example, I fell into the cannabis addiction. I would have called it an addiction. Back then, you know, I called it, oh, it's just my love for weed and it's all under control and it's all good. But what even when I stopped the cannabis, I was replacing it. I was replacing it with rapé, which is a more suitable addiction for this period of my life. You know, it made me more sharp and focused and let me release and let go for a little bit and use it for meditation, and it didn't make me so sloppy and whatever. Still, it was and still is an addiction, you know, because I noticed this tendency to move to something, you know. Back then it was porn, it was comforting food, yeah, you know, sugary food. Rapé, it's a shamanic snuff, you know. It's tobacco basically. So it's nicotine. It's mapacho tobacco from the jungle. So this is mapacho tobacco from the jungle, and some tribes in Brazil and the Amazon, they make a powder out of it. So this is a powder, and they put in some other plants and the ash and the mapacho tobacco, and then you can blow it up somebody else's nose, or get it blowed up your nose, or you can blow it up your nose yourself. You put in some, and then you blow it up your nose, and then there's like a, I don't know, like a very subtle sensation, very briefly, for me it's just a couple minutes, 5 to 30 minutes maybe, where I get very forcefully present, grounded, centered, and it's a wonderful, medicine. But yeah, I noticed this tendency to just fall into the habit of doing it more than I feel is aligned. And that's this thing with addiction. You can have something like a joint, a little bit of cannabis, and be not addicted to it. Have it every once in a while. It's a very conscious, balanced use, and you're not addicted to it. But the tendency for addiction, I was like, what is it? And still I notice it in myself, when I was cutting the coffee and the sugar recently, I was like, a couple of months ago, I was doing a medical medium cleanse, it was called. I was cutting the coffee, caffeine, sugar, everything, like even all kinds of comforting foods like dairy and eggs and like gluten, everything. And like I was having, for a week or two, I was having such intense cravings. I was like, oh, my body was just like craving something. And it was this letting go process. And yeah, in this LSD experience recently, I was reflecting also on this like addictive tendency towards hape. That is asking, how did you find out about that? I found out about it through friends when I was hanging around in these hippie circles, shamanic circles. People who drink ayahuasca, do psychedelics a lot. Inevitably, I ran into people who are doing it, and then they were willing to share it with me, and I came to like it. And then I researched a little bit more myself and got into it. And now I'm sharing it with other people as well. It's a great pleasure and a joy to share rape experiences with people. I've met great friends, and I've served a lot of people for the first time. And it's wonderful just to see lots of people have wonderful experiences. But this addictive tendency, what's the root of it? What's the cause of it? And for me personally, it's this sensation that of not being whole. Now, there's something in me that is feeling not connected to the truth, to the love that we discussed earlier, that we talked about, to this happiness, to this freedom, to this unconditional appreciation of everything that is. But there is this judgment of something in reality, and then there is a perception that I am not whole, not complete, and then I take something, I indulge in something to fill this hole in my heart. With the wish that it would make me complete, that it would reconnect me to this wholeness. But it never will, because we have never been separated from it, in truth, in reality. There's nothing in the outside that can connect us to that. Ultimately, we have to be with that, that challenge, that fear of not being worthy, of not being whole, not being good enough, and face that head on. Be with it, sober, in the raw reality of our own discomfort, of this feeling of unworthiness, of not feeling loved, and not feeling whole, not feeling good enough. My coach training program, they called it a gremlin. It's a gremlin message. It's this message in your head that is telling you in some way or another that you're not good enough. Yeah, I think when we look at the root of addiction, this is where what it boils down to for many people. It's that there has been some experience in the past, some trauma that has been created, and then some coping mechanism to that maybe even has helped us in the past, to reconnect to that, but then developed into a tendency to seek this wholeness in something that can never fully fulfill it. So yeah, that's about that. Carly was asking, what drugs have you tried other than psychedelics? DXM, ketamine? If not, why not? I stuck mostly to classical psychedelics in my journey of exploration. I have tried MDMA once. I have tried ketamine a couple times. DXM I haven't tried. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, if you would call these like subtle plant explorations like jape and mapacho and salvia other than psychedelics, yeah, I have done those as well. But usually I've stayed away from research chemicals and non-psychedelic drugs for now. I'm open to explore in the future, but they haven't really just called me, so that's the only reason. Like, I just haven't seen any curiosity rising up in my system to actually explore those. So I don't feel called to do them, and that has to be, for myself at least, the first and foremost reason. It has to be a natural call to connect with the substance. And I have never felt the call to connect with cocaine, for example. Well, I chewed on some coca leaves, so that was interesting. But it's like, if I don't feel the calling, if I don't feel an authentic curiosity arising in my being to explore a certain substance, then I'm not gonna do it. And mostly I have just felt this authentic calling and this natural curiosity arising with natural psychedelics. And that can change in the future. I'm open to different things, but I'm also very aware of the health consequences that some substances have on the body. So I'm very well aware. I think Terence McKenna was talking about it, like as a natural like category, as a natural filtering system, to say like, okay, the substance I am willing to try, it's got to be natural as possible. It's got to have ideally a long time of indigenous use somewhere around the world. People have been using it for long periods of time, and I think the third category of choosing was that the LD50 has to be low. I think the LD50 is some kind of like measuring system for how dangerous the substance actually is for the body. It's like 50% of the rats. It's a lethal dose 50. So 50% of the rats are dying at this dose, and then it's like the LD50 and whatever. And so For MDMA, for example, the LD50 is very low, so it has to be a low dose actually for lots of rats to die. Thing is like, and so we could say it's like, I forgot the details, so don't take my word for it, but it's like you just have to take like 12 times or 20 times the recommended dose of MDMA to actually have a lethal dose for a human being and be able to die from that because it's poisonous. And for LSD or mushrooms, for example, for mushrooms it's not known. The lethal dose, the LD50, is not known for mushrooms. You would have to eat like several times your whole like body weight, which is impossible to do, to actually be poisoned and die from psilocybin mushrooms. So you want to have like at least it's also, I find it good categories, as natural as possible, long usage of indigenous people and cultures who have been using a substance, and the LD50 should be low. So that's about it. But then also I'm open for like outliers. For example, LSD doesn't fall into this category, and LSD is wonderful. I love LSD. So yeah. Oh, how do you spell it? I was that was related to the rape. It's called rape or hape. I wrote it into the chat, either with an R or with an H. Analytical Apex is saying, I need to get a blood test, find out my blood type, do a genetic test too, getting a full chakra alignment on Tuesday. Cannabis draws me downwards. I only use it when the mirror needs to be active. Ketamine is wonderful for letting thoughts and emotions play, but just letting them roll through without attachment. Great for taking your reprogramming in your own hands. Ketamine is an interesting one. The couple experiences I had, I didn't like it. Especially in social settings, it made me like way too detached. Like it's a dissociative, and I was dissociated, and I didn't fully enjoy or get the experience. I want to go full in again and like more like serious solo explorations to see if there's some interesting realms opening up. It definitely did. I see some potential, but like usually it didn't make me feel, I don't know, I didn't really connect with it. It's interesting, but it's a very interesting substance for sure. Analytical Apex is saying Mapacho told the natives where to find the root and bark to create ayahuasca 200 miles apart. Yes, that's as the story goes. Mapacho, the tobacco, it's called the grandfather. You know, it's traditional cultures, and in not just one, but in several. Tobacco is the most sacred, and the most, like, the absolute greatest teacher. Several cultures and indigenous tribes who have kind of recognized tobacco as their most sacred substance. And I resonate with that. It's a powerful one. It's a very grounding one. It keeps you here. It helps you even navigate, and it's a fantastic teacher. I would love to explore it further. Ted is asking, don't you worry about losing touch with reality with the psychedelics? Actually, yes, I do. I do at times. Especially in the very high doses, there is actual dangers, you know, there's actual possibility to lose touch with reality. Whatever that even means, it's a very interesting phrase as well. Because I would say psychedelics would be truth revealing. They're revealing truth. They're revealing reality. They bring me into touch with reality, not out of touch. But in very high doses, in very or with new substances or extreme substances like salvia, where there's a report that our stable state of consciousness is completely falling apart, so it brings you in touch with another reality, maybe, you know, it's not out of touch with reality, because reality is whatever you perceive to be. It's what your awareness is aware of, what your consciousness is fabricating in your field of perception. So I wouldn't say I'm losing touch with reality, but sometimes I'm losing touch with this seemingly stable illusion of what I call my day-to-day perception. And when that possibility is there, then I am rightly and seriously, I wouldn't say worried, but concerned or aware of that. And I might have somebody there. Might have a trip sitter there. Group ceremony in deep ayahuasca space, to feel like I am safe, to feel like I'm held, to feel like I am taken care of if I'm completely going insane or my body is doing something to harm myself or others, or having a stupid idea, then having safety measures in place is a great idea. But I wouldn't say, like, when I choose to go into an experience, especially alone, there is no place to worry about losing touch with reality. It's just an opening up to the experience, whatever it might be. It's a crucial mindset. It's part of the set. There has to be no worry, no trace of worry at all. Because the worry is going to be the thing, the fear itself, the worry itself. The worry about losing touch with reality, the worry about the fear of losing touch, the fear of going insane is going to be what's actually causing the challenging experience. Because it's going to be amplified 1,000-fold. If there's a trace of worry or fear in your mind, and you're not fully trusting what is opening up in front of you, this new reality, this perception, this fabrication of consciousness, if you don't trust your ability to embrace that and surrender into that and let go into this, but you worry about losing touch with reality, then the whole experience is going to be, it's dangerous. It's dangerous territory to worry. And I feel like there's no need for worry. Absolutely not. No need to worry. Terence McKenna said, worry is preposterous. It assumes that you know what will happen. It assumes that you pretend kind of to know. You're very like egotistical in worrying, because you pretend that you know what will happen in the future, which you don't. You assume that you know more about reality than you actually do. and then you think that you have the right to worry. So, but it's ridiculous. It's preposterous. We don't have the right to worry. We don't know enough about reality to worry. So, keeping an open heart, keeping a trust and surrender in the experience, taking radical responsibility for my choices and for the experience that is opening up right in front of my eyes and for the reality that I'm perceiving. And then, no, there's no place for worry anymore. Hope that answers your question, Ted. Lottery winner, good to see you here. What causes the negative inner thoughts that indicate panic attacks inside our minds on cannabis? What causes them? Ted is saying, lottery winner, if you have panic attacks on weed, you mostly likely have some mental things you need to work out, and the weed is putting a magnifying glass on it. I see, so should I work on it, on cannabis, or do it sometimes and fight little by little with little wins? From a completely biological standpoint, THC binds to receptors. Some get lucky and it causes anti-anxiety, sometimes anxiety. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't. You have other higher ways, healthier ways to access the mirror than pot. I think it's an option, but it's not the only tool available to you. I'll explore other options. Yeah, that's good. If you feel like weed is causing anxiety, then there is the possibility to look into this and actually inquire on cannabis what the anxiety is about. But sometimes it's just not somebody's cup of tea. So it's true. It's sometimes it's just not. It might not just be your ally, your substance. And then some people, they enjoy the anxiety. They're like, oh, they're in it for the anxiety. They love it. um, yeah. I've never experienced anxiety on weed, so. But yeah, it might. If you have negative inner thoughts that indicate panic attacks, maybe you have them in your day-to-day life without the cannabis. They're just more hidden, and you have layers and layers of deception and barriers and things on top, that are covering those up in your day-to-day, and then cannabis is opening you up to those thought patterns that are actually present. So it's an opportunity to learn more about yourself. But if it's making you feel uncomfortable over and over and over again, then you might reconsider your choice to engage in cannabis space and explore other options. There's wonderful options. That is saying, I would say use no drugs. Try and achieve what you seek sober. It's more fulfilling and rewarding than whatever you seek is already within you to use whenever. Yeah, that's the ultimate reality. It's always already available. We are always connected to this infinite source of reality and intelligence and wholeness. Whatever we seek is already here right now, accessible. But and sober reality is a wonderful reality. It's really wonderful. But also, what is sober reality? And also, because there's chemical reactions all the time going on with the air we breathe in, and it's crazy. What is going on? We're high all the time. There's no such thing as sober reality. It's all psychedelic. But in that sense, there's obviously more extreme forms of engaging with chemical molecules and that cause differences in your brain chemistry and in your state of consciousness. I would say it's for me it's just it's enjoyable to change my consciousness through outside factors is fascinating to me. I love it. Analytical Apex is saying, the only reason I ever felt the call to explore anything outside of naturals was to better understand those around me and to be able to teach others how to curb and beat those demons. Interesting. Yeah, it expands your repertoire of experience and your ability to emphasize, for sure. Yeah, I love all your comments and all your interactions. I appreciate all of you a lot. Amazing stream, amazing community that we have here. I love you all. Ivy Wood Records, The Long Way Round, A Short Trip to Eternity. Eternity, it's always present. It's always right here, right now. Yeah, I'm feeling thirsty. I feel like I would love to go to the toilet, and I would love to rest. It's late. It's late. It's 10:20. It's past my bedtime already. For sure it is. At least here in Germany it's 10:20, It's a good time for you people in the US right here, right? So we can catch a stream and actually connect. It's crazy to me that we can just connect. Like, you are watching me right now. I'm sitting here. Last week I've been in Madagascar. Now I'm sitting here in friggin' Germany, and it's cold, and you are sitting wherever you are sitting, and we are actually communicating. There's actually going to be a community platform coming up. Like, I'm going to finish a presentation about psychedelics. It's called Psychedelics Are. What is it called? Psychedelics are not a magic pill, but the not is embraces. So it's like it's psychedelics are a magic pill, and they're not a magic pill. It's a very fascinating presentation that I'm working on, and it's going to be available probably in the Psychedelic Actualization community platform, which is going to be launching very soon. So be on the lookout for this, so we can talk in person, you know, and we have group coaching sessions, we have weekly live meetups where we actually see each other and talk face to face, and not just having a chat here in the live stream, which is wonderful as well. I love this chat and this live stream. I love you all. But yeah, be on the lookout for this community. As I said, if you're curious about psychedelic integration, there's a link in the video description for downloading a free guide I wrote. And if you're curious about talking to me one-on-one, you can book a free one-on-one clarity call to explore how I can help you fulfill your own vision. Yeah, lottery winner sums it up. Wow, so much to learn still. Always on the path to learning. It's a great perspective to take on, being a lifelong learner, being an evergreen student of life, you know, embodying that beginner's mind. Always being a beginner, always being in the position to be open to learn more. And yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much. My throat is really hurting. My chest is hurting. I am in infinite pain, and I love this pain. But yeah, it's the truth of the situation. You know, it's what we are. This moment. We're gonna end with the song. It's called Ik Onkar Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad Ik Onkar. It means there is only one creator of the entire creation. Everything is a blessing from the one creator. And this realization, this recognition, which is very interesting, which the Sikhism is talking about, which is bringing us full circle to the freedom and the freedom of choice that we discussed in the beginning of the live stream. The realization of that happens only through His grace. You know? The realization of our freedom, of the truth, of the wholeness, of God, of love, is happening through grace and through His grace alone, or her grace, you know. We talk to the mother. But yeah, let's sing. Ik Onkar Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. 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 Ek Onkar, Ek Onkar, Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. Ek Onkar, Ek Onkar, Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. Ek Onkar, Ek Onkar, Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. Ek Onkar. There is only one creator in the entire creation. Everything is a blessing of the one. And this realization is happening through His grace alone. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much love to you, especially all of you who have been here with me tonight. Thank you so much. Ted, Analytical Apex, Lottery Winner. I love you all. Kali, Nimbi, Mayan, Ivy Wood Records. So good to connect with all of you. It fills my heart with gratitude. Honestly, I do truly appreciate it, and I appreciate you listening to whatever just came out of my mouth without me even planning anything. We are free. That's the conclusion. You are free always, and yeah, I love you all, and see you all in the next one.